Could Cosmic Cowboys be one of the best toy lines of the 80s that no one knows about? Let's take a look. Cosmic Cowboys. For a lot of us, when you hear that name, it probably doesn't strike up any old memories of playing with toys in the 80s. You might be thinking I'm talking about Brave Star, although they do kind of look like Brave Star. But they're not Brave Star. These toys were released in 1986. And a lot of people call them a knockoff He-Man line. I can kind of see that because they do have nipples and they do have a lot of muscles like He-Man. But this toy line, I don't really count it as a rip-off He-Man line. It doesn't seem like going for that He-Man look. I mean, their legs are straight for one thing. I don't know. He-Man figures always knees were a little bent. But let's take a look at these figures and who made them? That's a question has to be asked. Who made these? It wasn't some big toy company like Mattel, Hasbro, or Kenner. No, this was a toy company you probably never heard of, unless maybe you played with Automan action figures. Remember Automan? Yeah, the company made them. Digging into the back of the action figure package, we can tell that it was distributed by Spearhead Industrial Incorporated. Now, who's Spearhead? Well, see, they did a lot of generic figures besides this line in Automan and some other ones also. They also made a Ghostbusters ball. Yeah, a Ghostbusters bouncy ball. I wanted to know more about this company, so I typed in the address into Google, and it doesn't give me much information. Let's look at Street View. It looks more like an apartment building. Maybe it's office buildings, but no, it looks like apartment buildings. I don't see anywhere here that looks like they made toys. Let's go to Google Images and see what the address brings up there. More houses. What's going on here? Okay, these were made in the mid-80s. Maybe the company that distributed those went out of business. It's been tore down since then. So let's move on trying to figure out who this toy company was and take a look at the figures. And they did something that maybe we did with our He-Man figures, but this thing, they told us to do it. We took them apart. Now, I don't know about you, man. He-Man figures, the arms would pop off easy, so I switched them around, put He-Man on a minute arms. It was just a lot of fun. It says right there on the package, snap the legs off. And you can put them on other figures. Not just other Cosmic Cowboy figures, but other figures that they made, other toy lines they made. A lot of these toys were released under the title Exchangers. And that'll let you know right there you can switch the body parts around. From X-Troopers, the X-Force, Battle Hawks, and even X-Terminator. As for X-Terminators, I don't know, I couldn't look it up. I did find something called X-Terminators, but it's from LJN, so I don't think this has anything to do with that. So let's just move on and look at these figures, because for a cheap toy company, they were pretty cool. Buck Meteor. Isn't that a cool name? Yes, it is. Buck Meteor was the cowboy of the line. As you can see, he has muscles, but not really a He-Man look, although the head is made out of rubber material like the He-Man figures. And then there was Chief Iron Lance. He was the Indian of the line. If you had a space cowboy, you had to have a space Indian. And here he is right here. Now this is the sheriff of the line, I guess. He has a star, but he's dressed in all black, so maybe he's a bad guy. Jack Sidewinder. That's one cool name if I ever heard one. And there he is with his hat. His hat is glued on his head, doesn't come off. Sergeant Alfred Cody. Looks like somebody from the Civil War. He does come with two weapons, a little gun, and whoa, a big ass gun. Look at this thing, it's huge. And this guy looks like a colonel from the Civil War. Star Marshal Coat Laser. Laser, L-A-E-Z-O-R. I hope I pronounced that one right, but really I don't really care if I did or not. Now, there was one more figure we hadn't looked at, and it is one of the dang coolest action figures you've ever seen. If I saw this back in the 80s, I would have bought it for sure. So let's take a look at the Skeletor of the line. Iron Jaw. Don't tell me this isn't a badass action figure. Sure, it's got a skeleton head like Skeletor, but even the body's cool. It even has a skeleton head belt buckle. I mean, how cool is that? He's got his head as a belt buckle. That's like if I walked around with this big old head as a belt buckle. I wouldn't be cool, but this guy could pull it off. Now, they did do some mini figures also. Well, little like die-cast figures. Yeah, can you believe 2 different lines? Yeah. But we're not going to sit here and look at each one of these, but I did want to let you know they did make these also. So what was the story of Cosmic Cowboys. I mean, you had to have a backstory when it came to action figures, at least back in the 80s. They didn't have a cartoon to base these on, so what are you going to do? Well, you had to have a backstory. Let's use AI, because I'm going to start coughing and I can't read good anyway, so let's use AI to find out the backstory, and then we'll find out exactly who was the good guys and who was the bad guys.
To the far-flung pioneer planets of the wild cosmic frontier comes law and order in the person of Star Marshal Colt Lazor. Known throughout the galaxy as Planet Tamer, Star Marshal Colt Lazor brings with him the latest state-of-the-art weaponry and his force of Star deputies. For Alpha Cody, tough, reliable right-hand man to the Star Marshal, he is an expert in weapons of all kinds. Chief Iron Lance, last member of a lost tribe of planet people, an expert tracker on all terrains including the vast emptiness of space. His psychic power over starships makes him an invaluable member of the Cosmic Cowboys. Buck Meteor, bounty hunter and uneasy ally of the Star Marshal. Buck is not always satisfied to stick to the letter of the cosmic law. He is a very resourceful outlaw hunter, an expert steel horse rider, and a good weapon master. Against the forces of justice are the outlaws who prey upon the prospectors and settlers of the frontier planets. The outlaw leader, two-gun Iron Jaw Blackstar, is the most wanted cyborg in the galaxy. Blackstar wants the mind, ores, and riches of these untamed planets for himself and his black hole, gang of Ironjaw henchmen. Jake Sidewinder is second in command of the outlaw gang and an ornery villain whose crimes are known throughout the cosmic frontier. Star Marshal Colt Lazor and his deputies face a never-ending struggle to bring law and order to the outpost planets of the cosmic frontier.
Whoa, that's a badass backstory right there. As you can see, these figures for a line that most people probably never heard of, they're pretty cool. This line should have done better. They look good. Sure, they're kind of cheap, but they look good. Have a cool backstory. What kid didn't want to play with Cowboys and Indian toys? Well, I guess kids that wanted to play with space alien action figures, army action figures, and steroid up hairy underwear action figures. Other than that, kids wanted to play with Cowboys and Indians, and this put a space theme to it. Now, there actually was a toy company that kind of redid these a few years ago, but I don't think this is some official license or anything. I wouldn't exactly call this a custom line, but they did take the name Cosmic Cowboys and look like they took those figures from the 80s and kind of redid them in more of a retro style. Now, finding these today are kind of rare. You can find them loose, usually missing parts. I mean, the legs popped off so easy, they're missing parts, but you can find them on eBay loose. On card, it's going to run you a couple of $100. And even complete and in good shape, it's probably going to run you loose about $100, depending on what figure you want. If you want that cool Iron Jaw, I think that's the Boba Fett of the line, or the Trap Jaw of the line. So they took Trap Jaw and mixed it with Skeletor. How awesome is that? Anyway, some of you may know this line. You may say, that's not a forgetting line, Junkman. But it is overall, with the scheme of action figures, kind of forgotten about. And it shouldn't be. It's a nice line. And I'm curious, did anyone have this as a kid? I didn't know about it till a few years ago, so I didn't get to see them as a kid. Again, that skeleton, oh, that would have been awesome. That would have been awesome. Cool backstory, great looking figures. This line should have done better than it did. Maybe because it didn't have a big, powerful name like Kenner or Hasbro behind it. Well, I want to thank you for watching. As always, thumbs up on my content, subscribe to the channel, and we'll talk again.
Hey, Junkman channel popping though.
Thank you, sir, for that unsolicited testimony.